Would you like to grow sweet, ripe blueberries right from your own backyard or patio? Keep watching, we'll cover the 5 areas to be successful with these beautiful fruits. So here in Tennessee, I love growing blueberries. They're delicious, they're relatively very easy to grow, and they keep coming back year after year, getting bigger and bigger, producing more and more berries. So the 5 areas to make sure you cover to be very successful with them are pretty straightforward. Number 1, grow the right type of variety, meaning grow southern rabbit-eye varieties. They are native to the southeast, so states in this region, they do well with the heat and humidity. They tend to grow a little bit larger, as you can see. Most varieties get into the 4 to 10 foot range, but just make sure that you have enough space for these guys to grow nice and large, and you're going to be really happy because that means they get more blueberries on them. But just make sure you're growing the southern rabbit-eye varieties. There's other blueberries for the northern climates, cooler climates. You don't want those. You really want the heat tolerant ones. And there's a lot of varieties out there. I know our garden center stocks several varieties of southern rabbit-eye blueberries. But they do get large. There are some smaller varieties. One of them that we love is called Sunshine Blue. Sunshine Blue maybe maxes out around 3 foot tall by 3 foot wide. Great for large large containers on the patio, or to be used kind of as foundation shrubs around the landscape in place of things like hydrangeas or sweet spires or hollies, that kind of thing. So they can even be used in the landscape as a plant if you don't want to grow them off to the side. Number 2, blueberries love acidic soil, somewhere in the 4.5 to 6 range. Most of our natural soils are around the 7 range, so you got to be adding soil acidifying amendments to the soil, namely organic elemental sulfur or cottonseed meal. These are 2 amendments that you can lower the pH of your soil. They take 1 to 2 years to really take full effect, so get started early, but you can also just plant them in around the areas of the blueberry when you plant your shrub. But they'll take 1 to 2 years to really lower that soil pH, but very key ingredient to being successful with blueberries is get your soil very acidic. Number 3, they love full sun, they don't like the shade. So just make sure that you have them in a really nice full sunny area and you'll be just fine. Number 4, you want to make sure that you are growing at least them in a very well-drained, evenly mixed composted soil. Like a lot of plants around here, they do really well if they're not waterlogged and growing in heavy clay. So you really want to be digging nice large holes when you're planting your plant and backfilling with some really great compost, maybe a little bit of sand for drainage mixed in, getting them off to a really great start, and then maybe considering topping them off, surrounding them with a little pine straw or pine mulch around the base, and then you're going to be really successful. Number 5, and the last thing, is to consider growing at least 2 varieties next to each other for cross-pollination. This is how you get maximum berry yield. You'll get a decent crop if you just have 1, but you're really going to want to at least plant 2 varieties, namely of 2 different types growing near each other, and that way you'll make sure that you really get a maximum yield of blueberries all over your plants. So just keep that in mind. Lastly, for just a little tip with blueberries, they can attract the birds. That's one of the it's one of the things they eat. They sometimes eat vegetables and berries and fruit trees. So a couple tips there to remember to keep the birds mostly off of your blueberries. Bird netting is really the go-to for a lot of gardeners. It's a fine filamental type netting that you can just kind of lay over your blueberry. You can get a little bit more elaborate with it and build frames around your blueberries in larger cages, that kind of thing. But if you're a little bit lazier, you can just drape it over the blueberry bush. They might get the top blueberries, but they'll really miss a lot of the stuff that's on the inside. Some other ways to avoid the birds, hanging strips of what's called flash tape or pie pans or CDs on string. This type of movement and shiny effect from the sun can kind of deter them away from getting onto your blueberry bushes. Some people even put up bird feeding stations and feed them that way. Just bring them in, but just keeping them avoiding the crops. But just make sure that you keep your bird feed well stocked, because when that runs out, they might be looking for other food sources. But that's really about it. I know you will be successful with blueberries in your own backyard. Again, it's Matt with Gardens of Babylon. Here's to your success around the landscape.